literally that became the turning point for me because I was able to leverage my strengths. I was able to get the focus that I needed. I was able to complete things. I was able to start and finish things. I was able to make it and show. I was able to just show up.
Yes.
In a way that I hadn't been able to before.
Welcome to Successful with ADHD. I'm Brooke Schnittman, and if you have ADHD and are feeling overwhelmed, chaotic, and negative self-beliefs, you're in the right place. The Successful with ADHD podcast shares my guests' journeys of overcoming challenges, offering their tips and strategies for success to empower you to take control of your life and thrive with ADHD. Let's get started. Hi, Michelle. I'm so glad to have you on our podcast, Successful with ADHD. Thank you for being here today.
Well, thank you, Brooke, for having me.
It's been so much fun being able to talk to you on the phone. We have conversations that I know can go on for years and years. I thought it was really important to get you on here and share your story because you have a powerful one and the world needs to hear it. So I would love for you to just take a few moments and tell us a little bit about your journey through childhood and adulthood with ADHD.
Sure. So I started out as a child, as we all do, right? Bill Cosby.
That's where you started?
I started out as a child. I did, believe it or not. But sometimes I think I came here fully grown. I've always felt old. I can't describe it. It's just I always felt old. And at the same time, I knew that I was also younger than other people in certain ways. I started off identified as a highly gifted child. My mother always blamed everything on that. The fact that I was intelligent. So it was the quirkiness, the shyness, the social anxiety, the defiance, the oppositional defiance that I would display at school. And the interesting thing was she was bipolar. So sometimes she would support my madness and sometimes she would be mad at me.
If she was manic, right?
If she was, right. No, she was manic. She was supportive. If she was depressed, she wasn't. She was more, you shouldn't be like that. So I kind of grew up with mixed messages that way. But I had a difficult childhood in terms of the social anxiety because I was very, very shy. I was very withdrawn to myself. I was very introverted. I liked what I liked. I had those, what they call those special interests that you don't know they're the special interests. Like I'm a 7-year-old reading about JFK's assassination. Like,
oh, fascinating.
You used to collect these blue chip stamps and green chip stamps when you were little. I'm dating myself here, but the first thing that I bought when it was my turn was a dictionary.
That is not the typical child that you expect.
I bought a dictionary from the blue chip stamp store.
So while other people were collecting Barbies and dolls,
I did that
and
too.
Toys.
I did that too.
Okay.
I did that too. I was a fan of Barbies. My dad brought one of the first Barbies for me. My kids think it's creepy. It's like got this hair that's kind of, I don't know, looks like if you put a match to it, it would melt. And then I painted her fingers and toes green because my mother had all this green shoe polish.
That's cool.
Painted some shoes with. So I painted, I just did weird things for a child. When I look back, strange.
Okay.
Strange. But my mother encouraged it. She read to us, she read lots of rhymes and things. Like I always remember loved reading. I loved reading as a child. I was sent to different schools because nobody could teach me. They couldn't figure out how to teach me because I was so quick at catching things. And finally I rebelled and said, I'm not going to not one more school. Just take me back to where I want to go back with my friends. Yeah, just leave me alone, let me be. And so that happened, that lasted. I would say by the time I got to high school, I hated school. And I realized now looking back, I hated it because it felt hard. It was the first time I had ever experienced anything that felt hard to me in school. And I didn't like that feeling. And I really realize now executive functions were very weak. My executive functions were pretty weak. The ones with planning and organizing and, those types of things. I was impulsive. I could get stuff done, but it wasn't with a plan. It was just kind of impulsive.
Sure.
I would think about something and I might go do it. I didn't know myself. I was like consistently inconsistent. I would say that.
Love that phrase. So you were so smart growing up that you compensated for your lack of executive functioning skills, and then it caught up to you in high school, and you floundered because you didn't know.
I did. I floundered in math. That was my worst subject. I got to geometry. What I realize now is like, if it doesn't make sense to me, I can't make it make sense. Like, make it make sense. They say that way, like, make it make sense. If you can make it make sense, then I'm good. But geometry, I was like, I don't get it. Like, I don't care about parallelograms. I just don't. So what? Like, what am I ever going to use this? And I just wouldn't do. I just literally squeaked by with a D. It was the first D I'd ever gotten. And I just decided, I never took math again. I never took math again. I managed to get no more math in high school. I did AP classes. When I think that, the first thing was I got taken out of my homeschool. I got bused. I decided to join what's called the voluntary integration program at the time. And so they bused us to a white school. That took me out of my element.
Sure.
That really took me out of my element. And I just decided I didn't want to go to, I just hated school. Didn't care about it. Didn't care about it at all.
Why was it a white school?
Because that was the school that was identified as having a better curriculum. And then what happened, I moved, when I was in the 9th grade, I moved into a new neighborhood. And all my friends, my new friends, were going to this school. And so that's why I decided to go to that school.
Okay.
And then I wanted to quit and go back to my neighborhood school. My mother wouldn't let me until the semester was over. And by that time, I was just done. I was like, well, whatever. I don't care about school, period. So I just kind of cruised through.
Okay. So you graduated high school.
I got married.
Okay.
I got married. I became an adult. I started adulting right away.
Okay.
I started adulting. I went to night school.
Okay.
I went to night school. My husband worked at McDonald's.
Okay.
He was a manager. And I went to the medical assistant school at night. I actually worked at what they call the Naval Ocean Systems Center here, which is a submarine base. And I worked for the guy that developed the Tomahawk missile. Like, I did some really interesting things as a youth, right? Like, I was 18 years old.
That must be really fascinating for you.
It was fascinating. It was boring as I don't know what. All I did was I made these tapes. This was the reel-to-reel tapes. I had to do something with some tapes. That's all I remember. I had top secret clearance to do this thing with some tapes.
With tapes.
Yeah. They were reel-to-reel tapes, and my job was to keep them, I don't know, I guess, wound. I don't remember. They had data on them, and I really don't remember why I did it, but, that was that. But then I went on to have a career in healthcare. Figured I didn't want to go to school because I didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up. And that was a source of anxiety for me. So I just decided, well, I'm, medical profession, and I would always have a job because I felt like, hey.
Well, I want to give you credit, though, because you had the metacognition and the foresight to say, I'm not going to waste money. I'm not going to waste time because I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. So I'm going to try something out first.
Exactly. And I actually got like every day I'd show up at home and there'd be all this mail because I'm very good at tests. I like to take tests. I'm very good at testing. So I did extremely well on the PSATs, the preliminary SATs.
Yeah.
And I got like scholarship offers. And all I could think of was I got like full 4-year ride offers. I got offers from Stanford, from MIT. I got offers from all over.
Wow.
And all I could think of was they have no idea who I am. Even inside, I was like, I'm a C student. They don't want me. Like, I'm a good test taker, right? And I didn't want, I guess, the rejection sensitivity.
Yeah.
I wasn't even going to let it get near me.
So you were definitely having imposter syndrome, though, then. You are and were smart, and you didn't have the executive functioning skills to necessarily organize in the classroom, but you were performing on tests because you retain information and you're a really good test taker.
Yes, that was it. And I would get A's in some classes and, like I said, D's in others. it was a mystery to everybody. I was almost legend in my neighborhood for being smart, right? Nobody could understand me. Like, why? What is wrong with her? Why is she doing this? But my mother just kind of went with it.
And you didn't understand you either.
I did not.
So what happened for you after you became a nurse practitioner?
Well, I didn't become a nurse practitioner. I became a medical secretary.
Okay.
I was going to become a medical assistant. And then I figured out they didn't make as much money as the secretaries. So I took the first part of the course that I took. They taught the medical terminology, and I did really good in that. And so I went and got a job at the university hospital. I got a job as a senior clerk in the emergency room on the swing shift, working 3 to 11:30 with all these adults. And they had no idea how old I was when I started working there. I was 18. They thought I was in my 20s. You know, I was married.
Yeah. And you're smart and mature.
I was adulting. Yeah, I was very smart and mature. Yeah. And so I worked at 3 to 11:30 shift there for like 3 years.
All right. So give us the juice, Michelle.
Well, when you come into an emergency room, it was an interesting experience to be 18, working with all those people. There were doctors there. One doctor had quit. He was a policeman and then went to go become a doctor. And it was a time when the university had just taken over the medical center from the county. And we had the life flight helicopter. I was answering ambulance calls. I mean, I was really in the middle of all of it because I was the person running the desk. So that
that was exciting for you.
It was very exciting. Then I got pregnant and I had a baby, and my husband was not knowing he had ADHD too.
Okay.
And then I had it and I didn't know I had it.
Okay.
So it was not a good.
Yeah. So how did you discover you had ADHD?
My client told me I had ADHD. My first client diagnosed me with ADHD. I had worked at the university for about 19 years. I ended up getting laid off. And I was glad because I was just thinking, like, how am I going to get out of here? Like, I don't even know what I do on the outside is considered. I was an instructional designer. I discovered I was a systems thinker. And I had risen through the ranks to become the business manager for all the outpatient clinics. Mm-hmm. And I did a lot of what they call process improvement, continuous improvement.
Okay.
And so I really took to it. What I learned there about process and how to improve process, and that everything basically was a process, is how I was able to create a business. It's how I've been able to sustain myself. It just made the whole world come clear for me.
Yeah.
And that was something that I just happened to learn at work.
Yeah. ADHDers hate structure, but thrive on it at the same time.
Yes. That is the thing, Brooke. We hate the structure, but it's good for us. Mm-hmm. It's good for us. As long as we know where the guardrails are, right?
Yes.
We need the guardrails.
Yes. We need those bumpers when we're bowling. Yep. Just can't go off those guardrails.
Right. But if you give us the guardrails, but don't guard us.
Yes.
Right. Don't micromanage us. Just tell us what you want. Tell us what the result you want, and we'll go get it for you.
Tell us the result and also why you want that result.
And why you want it. Yes. What's driving that? Because we really care. That's the issue. Like, you know, what is it? Passion, interest, novelty.
Totally.
It's not that we're not interested.
Yep. Pinch.
And then we take jobs that are beneath us. Honestly, we do. We do.
I love how you're saying that. I'm working with my clients so much. He wants to go back into the same old job that he had before, which was a high performing job. But I keep telling him, like, there's a reason why you quit it.
We take jobs that we think we can get. What I did in my job at the university is I actually created my job. I would take pieces of the job that I didn't want, and I wouldn't do them. And I would do other stuff. I ended up almost losing my job. I almost got fired.
You did the things that are more exciting for you.
For not coming to work. No, just for not coming to work. I had a kid, and she had asthma, and my boss felt that I should come to work when she had asthma. And I didn't feel that way.
Okay.
And so I would push back. And so they decided that they were going to put me on this thing called the float team. And the float team, which little did I know, was the thing that once they put you on the float team, they were trying to float you out, right? They were trying to just get you out. And so the float team was the team that covered people for their absences and vacations and things like that. Mm-hmm. And so I wasn't getting along where I was, and they were trying to blame stuff on me. Little did I know. So I said, sure, put me on the float team. I'd love to do that. Because what they would do is they'd assign you to different clinics. Mm-hmm. And you'd have to go learn those different clinics. But what they were doing was they were having the supervisors document you.
Oof.
But what I did, I thrived in it. I thrived in it. It was the best thing they ever could have done for me. Because what it meant was I was never in the same place pretty much 2 days in a row. I was always in a different place.
Which was exciting and novel.
Which was exciting. And there were 14 different departments. I learned all 14 departments. All the different specialties, subspecialties, all the clinics, all the doctors, all the services. Like, I knew all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so I ended up, once they embarked on this continuous improvement journey, I had worked in all the clinics. Mm-hmm. So I could tell them the process for all the different clinics. And so they put me in charge of a big project of improving access to services. So we did a major presentation to the Joint Commission and passed with flying colors. And so I learned a lot in that job that literally funded my business. So, I mean, I need to go back and find my old boss.
And thank him.
Tell him thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for giving me the tools to thrive right now in the job that I love.
And I will say that there were some detours, we talked about it. And so one of the things that fueled my rise, my career, was the fact that I had been self-medicating. But self-medicating was apparently what my brain needed to get focused and to thrive.
And that was at that point, not knowing that you had ADHD.
No, not at all. I didn't know I had ADHD until probably 15 years after that. I quit my job on a dime to go work with this guy. So I got laid off, and then I kind of started marketing myself as this executive assistant, which was crazy. And so I started
beneath you again. Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. But I liked it because I could work with senior executives. Mm-hmm. I could get paid well to work with senior executives who had major decision makers. I only wanted to work with decision makers. I realize that now. But that's what it was. I liked working with decision makers. I actually got a job working for a company called Qualcomm.
Okay.
They actually made the first thin phones, these chips. They have the chips that go in the phones. They're a San Diego company, and everybody was trying to figure out how to work there. And I saw that they had administrative openings. So I decided to apply, and you had to quit your job to go work there because you had to be hired through a temporary service called Manpower. I quit my job to go work for the CFO. And the week I quit, they freaking decided to close, that they were going to sell the company. Yeah. So I ended up just staying there. And just, the ADHD helps you kind of go with the flow. I didn't realize it then. I just decided, well, I'm making more money. I will just ride this through till it's done. And then I'll figure I'm working for a temp agency. I'm sure they'll have somewhere else for me. I was a single parent. You know what I mean? Like, it was pretty scary. It was kind of scary, but I had gotten laid off a job after 19 years. And what saved me then was my relationships. I went and got a job with my other old boss at another hospital. I always had relationships. I always was able to create these relationships. That's what actually got me the job after the job I had after the job where they were going to sell the division. What they did is they decided they were going to put me in charge of their due diligence process. They were selling the division. I got to meet the presidents of Nokia and Kyocera at the time, like different companies, all these different companies. Yeah. They put me in this thing called the customer care room. And I sat there all day doing nothing. And I've decided that...
Oh, that must have driven you crazy.
No, girl. I was on the internet because they gave me an assistant to order breakfast, lunch, and dinner for these people. I sat there and figured out, like, how are people making money online? Like, that's what I wanted to know. So that's what I did. I sat there all day long and figured it out.
Wow.
And figured out how they were making money online. And they were making money online by selling people like me information on how to make money online. And I just thought, they're selling knowledge. I could do that. What is that? Like, what are they doing? And so I started learning just because I was interested. I started learning all the different business models. Like, how could you make money? All the different business models. I had no idea what I was going to do with it. And then I even put up a little website And I called like for San Diego small businesses and started going to different meetings. When I think about it, it's really funny. I got a job at this company. After I left that company, somebody had sent my resume to this crazy, it was a company called Lightspan, and they were educators who had taken a PlayStation and married it to state curriculum standards.
Wow.
And they had students that were kicking ass.
Oh, I'm sure. Video games.
And they were selling it into the school districts.
Wow.
All the school districts.
Michelle, so you have a lot of resilience. You were self-medicating, you moved jobs, and you are a single parent. So how do you feel? First of all, tell everyone what you do right now, and how do you meet with success today?
What I did is I took everything, all my experience, to this time frame right now. So after I left, I actually stressed off of a job. That's what did my career in. I literally took a box, put my stuff in it, and walked out and decided I was never coming back. And I went to the doctor, took me off work, and they had to, like, literally, it was their fault. So I got paid to sit on my ass and watch 9/11 happen and all that, right? So I knew that I could not really go back into a corporate environment like that. I literally had like a burnout, a stress burnout.
Yeah.
And so I started doing entrepreneurial things. And I happened to meet somebody who knew somebody who needed what I could actually deliver with my internet marketing skills that I didn't really have, but knew that I could do. So I got hired by this guy to help him promote his new book that he had just written. And I literally got the job through a relationship. And he's the guy that diagnosed me with ADHD. But I did a really good job for him. We ended up getting the book on the New York Times bestsellers list, the Wall Street Journal bestsellers list, the USA Today bestsellers list.
And mind you, you had zero experience.
I had zero. Well, maybe I had a little bit because the lady that referred me to him, I sold something for her off of a website that I had put up.
Oh, I might need to talk to you. I'm trying to get my book
for her. Yeah, I sold something for her. Well, I was a voracious reader. Literally, she felt comfortable referring me to her client. And so he hired me. And that was my first gig. He was very rich, very handsome, and very smart, and very ADHD. So we got along really well. He lived in a place he lived in this really huge, he was in the movie The Secret. His house was in that movie. He literally manifested his house. He's the guy that manifested his house in that movie. And so his name is John Asaraf. And right now he owns a company called NeuroGym. But when I met him, he had just written this book series about his life, how he went from being like a street kid, kind of thuggish, to this $4 billion real estate company. So that's really his journey in personal development. So I spent about 10 years with them. And I spent about 10 years in that whole industry. I ended up meeting Dr. Daniel Amen. He was a book client of mine.
How cool.
And that's when I figured out the test that I took off his site is how I actually, like when John told me that, I looked at him like he had two heads. And I said, what? Like, that's the shit little boys bounce off a wall. Like, why would you say I had that? Right?
Sure.
Sure. So I was really upset about it. When I think about it, it was like, what are you talking about?
So did Dr. Daniel Amen take a brain spec of you?
No, he didn't. I actually just did his book campaign, and I went and talked to him and met his whole staff and stuff.
Okay.
I need to go back to him. I would like him to do that. I think
he's
that would be
right now in Miami. So
is he? He's got clinics everywhere now. He really executed on his vision. He had a vision, and he executed on it. He executed on it really well.
So John basically said, Michelle, you have ADHD.
Mm-hmm. He said, you have ADHD. And I said, okay. And then I took this test on Dr. Amen's site, and there was a little question on the test that said, are you extraordinarily proud of yourself for doing things that other people think is normal, like paying bills on time or some question like that? And it was like, I really have this.
So with Dr. Daniel Amen, I know he has 7 types of ADHD. So you
didn't have all that yet. He didn't have that yet. I met him when he had written a book called Healing Anxiety and Depression. I think that came right after that. I think it might have been right around the same time.
Okay. So where did you get officially diagnosed?
I got officially diagnosed, yes. through the behavioral health department at UCSD at the University of California.
Okay.
They happened to have a study, but I actually didn't get medicine. The only reason I went and got diagnosed was because I needed to get a prescription, because my girlfriend, been about 15 years, and she gives me this little blue and white pill. She's here, take one of these. I'm like, nah, I don't mess with that, right? Like, no. She, girl, ain't gonna do that to you. It's called Adderall, right? And I'm just like, we were going to a seminar, and I said, okay, give it here. Like, okay, I hate to say it, Piscean. Okay, I'm a Piscean, and I'm ADHD. Okay, so it's that experience. So I take this thing. So I go to the seminar, and we're sitting there. All of a sudden, the thing kicks in, and it's like Technicolor. It's like, oh my God, is this how people think? Is this how people feel? Is this
like the color of your glasses? Everything is
like everything.
Bright and clear.
Very crystal clear. It just became very clear. Wow. That was in 2000. Yeah, about 2006, 2007. I already knew I had it. I hadn't thought about taking medication for it. I hadn't, I didn't know what to do about it. Mm-hmm. So she gives this to me. And so then it became, she would give me a bunch of them and I would take them. And then her friend that she was getting them from asked her what she was doing with all of them. And so I just said, I need my own prescription for this. I need to go get diagnosed. And so literally that's what I did. I went and got diagnosed. And then I got my own prescription. And literally that became the turning point for me, because I was able to leverage my strengths. I was able to get the focus that I needed. I was able to complete things. I was able to start and finish things. I was able to make it and I was able to just show up.
Yes.
In a way that I hadn't been able to before. And so it really catapulted my business. Like, one of the things I really wish I would have been able to understand was how to manage it all better. I still don't have the executive function skills. I still don't have.
No coach for that.
Yeah, because I need one. You asked me what I'm doing now, and that is literally where the idea for She ADHD came from.
I love it. Can you share She ADHD with everyone?
I will. She ADHD has morphed into a foundation and a think tank. It's going to provide funds to women who are entrepreneurial to get their books written and to get their online courses created. Because what I needed at the time was that. I needed structure and I needed a team to help me focus my efforts. And I've run a lot of masterminds and I love that process. And I also, one of the things I did after I left, after I learned all that stuff about marketing books, I decided I wanted to have a website where it helped authors sell more books. And it was called sellmorebooks.com, right? That was the name of it.
I hope you didn't sell that domain.
I did. I finally did. I got bored. I had it for so long and I just was letting it sit there. I just let it go fun.
All right.
But I did have a business on there at one point, and I had a client that became a friend, and then she wanted to be my business partner for it. And I didn't realize this. This is where the idea for it's She ADHD Foundation for Executive Function.
Nice.
And basically it's because our attention is designed for a higher dimension. We literally need to be brought down to this plane to actually get stuff done, right? And so what I realized was, in order for me to launch the membership site that I created, it had a product, a program. We launched that sucker. We did really well with it, but she sat with me every week for 6 weeks and transcribed what was in my brain onto a document. I talked and she typed.
Amazing.
And we wound up with a product with 2 workbooks, with CDs, with literally, she got it out of my head. And I thought, we need to provide. That's how I did that. And that was the time my business thrived. Yes. And I just thought, I want to provide that to other women, with ADHD.
I love that. You know what's so funny, Michelle? Whenever I create a process in my business, I need to speak it out loud to another member of my team on the screen. I literally pay them just to sit there. And I'm just like, okay, so first we do this. then we do this, right? Then we do this. And it's the body doubling piece. And I'm the one typing, but there's just something about having that person there that allows my thoughts to make more sense. Like having a thinking partner.
Right. Because I've tried doing it by myself. I get into the weeds and the minutia and the details.
Yes.
I can't keep it high level. Because I want to go into each and every one. So then I run out of energy. Like you only have so many minutes.
Yeah, you burn out.
You only have so many herbs. What I ended up doing was I decided that I was going to create a strengths-based business. And that's what I did. I just said, okay, I put my 5 top strengths from Clifton Strengths Finder. I had that test done, and I did this other test called the Colby.
You're the tarot woo, aren't you?
I'm not a woo. I'm a relator.
Oh, wow.
Relator.
Okay.
But my best friend was a woo.
Okay.
And we would go out together. So it was a 1-2 punch, girl. They wasn't getting away from us.
All right. Well, we are running out of time and we have to hop on Instagram Live. So just for the community right now, if you could high level share your number 1 pro tip for individuals with
My number 1 pro tip is discover your strengths and use them. Only use your strengths. Don't mess around with your weaknesses. Really. There are people who like what you hate. You just have to find them. I don't know. That's the other piece. I want to create some sort of a matching system for people. Because I don't understand how we could have Clifton Strengths Finder and the Colby and nobody can give you a database of how to find the strengths that you're missing. Yeah, that's so crazy to me.
Yes. Yes. Like you are literally doing someone else a favor by hiring them if they have your weaknesses.
Exactly. And there are people who like details.
Yes. Executive assistants usually.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, there are.
Wonderful. Michelle, thank you so much for coming on. And where can people find you?
People can find me on Twitter because she's ADHD. SHES ADHD is my handle there. And I'm also going to be putting a circle together called She ADHD Collective. So it's a community. And if they go to sheadhd.org, they can sign up and get updates.
Wonderful. Thank you for coming on, my friends.
Thank you for having
you on again.
We will.
Okay.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Successful with ADHD. I hope it helped you on your journey. And if you need any additional support for you or a loved one with ADHD, feel free to reach out to us at coachingwithbrooke.com and all social media platforms at Coaching with Brooke. And remember, it's Brooke with an E. Thanks again for listening. See you next time.